Many struggles that we face as men, to some degree, are a struggle with shame. Whatever the behavior, the obsession, the addiction, the thing we struggle with is really a struggle with shame. So let's talk about shame. Shame is the feeling we experience when we believe or think we've missed the mark. If you've ever felt inadequate or less than, unlovable, rejected, or you feel like a failure, you felt shame. It doesn't feel good. And while shame is often described as an emotion, something we feel and we experience, it's more than just an emotion. Shame is part of the human condition. It's an inescapable part of living in the world that we live in. I like to think of shame as really a byproduct of sin. Now, let me define that, because sin is sometimes thought of as just bad behavior. But sin is much broader than that. Sin literally means missing the mark. So when we sin, we miss the mark. Whose mark? Well, God's mark. God created things a certain way and to operate a certain way. And when we stray outside of that, we miss the mark. That's the bad news. I swear it gets better. But it's important to know that shame is what we experience when we miss the mark. We actually see this play out in the first few chapters of the Bible. In Genesis 2 and 3, we get this origin story of shame. I'm going to kind of fly through this and hit the high points. But if you're unfamiliar, go give those 2 chapters a read. Genesis 2 describes a world as God intended, and it's a world that's foreign to us. This is a place where people felt no shame. Genesis 2:25, it says, Adam and his wife were both naked and they felt no shame. This isn't just a physical thing. They were totally and utterly known by God and each other. There was nothing hidden. Everything was out there in the open, exposed, fully seen and known, and they weren't ashamed about it. There was no sense of being inadequate, being less than, being unloved or unwanted. Rather, they were safe, they were secure, they were close, totally vulnerable, totally exposed, but everything was still good. This is what we were designed for. This is not what we experienced, though. So, what happened? Well, basically, along comes the serpent, and the seeds of doubt are sown. Can you really trust God? Should you trust God? Are you sure this is as good as it gets? You think this is good? I think there's something better that God doesn't want you to have. That's the gist of Genesis 3, 1 through 5. Simple lies that call into question God's goodness, his authority, so much. And they take the bait, and in one moment they break from the created order. They rebel against God's authority and God, and they decide they know what's best, and in doing so, they have fallen short in their thinking, their acting, their believing, everything. That's sin. And along with it comes shame. Verse 7, it says, Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked. They believed the lie, and they acted on it. And then everything changed. Things were no longer good in the garden. Not for them. They realized that they were naked. Something happened to Adam and Eve. Their eyes are open, and now they realize that they're exposed, that they're vulnerable, that they're naked. And this seems to be a problem because things are no longer good for them. They believed a lie, they acted on it, and it corrupted their goodness. It changed something about them. No more harmony, no more agreeableness with this Genesis 2 world. And they knew it. They knew it because they could sense it. That's shame. Shame is what you get when you take people who are good and designed to be vulnerable and exposed and intimately known by God and each other, and you introduce rebellion. My will, my way, my glory. Not good. This is where shame started, and we've been experiencing it, being influenced by it, and reacting to it ever since.